you doing? Welcome to the very first episode of the Tony Spinolli Show. Excuse me for my long absence. I had to leave the country to avoid suspicion. Anyway, that's another story. Bottom line is, I got a call from some TV executive. He saw my videos on YouTube and he thought they were so good and he wanted to give me my very own talk show. So here I am. This time I got cameras, I got lights, I got a crew, and of course, I got problems. Okay, let's get started. Now, since it's my first episode, I'm gonna have some very special guests. I met these guys at a flea market last week, and they are World War II veterans, and I have tremendous respect for veterans out there that serve our country. They're 92 years old, and not only are they 92 years old, they are identical twins. Now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, here they are, the show's twins. Here they are. Nice to meet you, gentlemen. Yeah.
Nice to meet you, Tony.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Great to be. All right, now let me get this straight. You're Howard and you're Walter, am I right?
No. Well, may I have?
Yes, you may.
Tony, right off the bat, you're off base. You don't know what you're talking about. I didn't mean that, Tony, but no. I am Walter,
And
the oldest.
And Howard.
And this is Howard, the youngest.
The youngest one.
Oh.
By 6
Understand,
minutes.
I am Walter, the oldest. I'm the one that was born first, and hate to say it, but perhaps a little more intelligence.
Oh, okay.
He should live so, I tell you. Are you kidding?
All right, oldest, youngest. People probably confuse you two a lot, huh?
Well,
Can I
sure
answer
do.
that one? Do you mind? Go ahead.
They could, but
Be honest, I'm a little more attractive than he is.
well, he's only saying that because I have no teeth. I have no life.
I barely even noticed.
I know, I'm glad, but I'm getting it fixed.
Yeah.
And then you'll see how you can see me more
Right,
attractive.
of course.
Oh.
I'm waiting for that.
All right, now, you two, World War II, now, you were in the same platoon, is that the proper wording?
Yes, same company, same platoon. Throughout the whole 3 years we were there in the war.
3 years?
A little less than 3 years, yes.
Sort of side by side, would you look
Yeah.
at that? Wow.
Yeah.
Now, my first question, were any of you guys wounded?
Yes, yes. Can I answer that?
Well, yeah. No, yes.
You answer it. You want to answer it anyway. Go ahead.
My brother was wounded,
You
yes.
were wounded?
I was wounded, yes, I was.
Wow, what happened? Details,
Well,
come on.
I was wounded, and the reason why I do not like to talk about it is the fact that my brother makes fun of it. And because I was wounded in a little town in Germany called Langesonne, but if it's where I was wounded in the tush, in the ass.
In the ass?
And I always fool around, and he was wounded running away from the enemy.
Yeah.
That's the...
Wow.
I resemble that. I resent that.
Oh boy. Now, Howard, if you don't mind me asking, was it the left or the right ass cheek?
It's a long time ago, Tony, but Eric, it was in the left cheek. Left cheek, yes.
Left
yes, Tony.
cheek. Wow. Now, Walter, if you don't mind me asking, where were you when he took one in the ass?
Oh, I was on the, he took one in the, I was on the right side. I was on the right part of the street as we walked out. He was on the left, so I was quite a distance, a little bit on the right side.
So you were like, right beside him pretty much?
Well, pretty much, except I was quite distant.
Obviously you weren't right behind him because it would have been your ass.
That's very funny, Tony.
Very funny.
funny. Now, I'm sure you got a lot of stories to tell, but like, which story do you think kind of, stood out the most, that really stuck with you,
Well, Tony, now I'm getting very serious. Yes, there are stories that stand out, and I can't tell them all, but there's one that took me a long time, and my brother too, to get out of our memories after the war was over. And that was the first time that we ran into what we call foot mines or shoe mines.
Foot mines.
Our company and our platoon went up the hill this one night at Saarlautern, Germany, to knock out the German pillboxes. And there were 3 pillboxes. Am I right about this, Howard?
Yeah, you had
the mother pillbox
and the 2 little kids beside.
what we call the
there
2
was
little...
3. One big one and one on each
Now, what
side.
exactly is a pillbox for
Well,
those
they
who
were
don't know?
shooting down mortars and machine gun fire on us, and we had to take that hill. We had to take that and get them out of there. And as we went up the hill, and it was at night, suddenly in front of us, if I make in any way make a mistake and you let me know.
Yeah.
But as we went up the hill, suddenly our scouts in front of us, suddenly we heard a loud pop, pop, like a firecracker going off, Now, what happened was that our scouts had stepped on what we call foot mines or shoe mines, and they're very dangerous. And as Howie always says, they don't kill you, they just take a leg off or a shoe off. But anyway,
Pretty bad.
that's what they had stepped on. And there was silence, and we all came to a stop on the hill. And we were taught in training, in our basic training, that when you're hit, when you're hurt, you call out, medic, medic. And that's what we heard next. The scouts out there calling, medic, medic. And that lasted for quite some while. And finally, we were all on the hill, and we got word that the tanks were coming up to clear the mines away, and we would have to follow them up. It would be up there in 10, 15 minutes. But in the meantime, the shout of medics had stopped, and this is what was with me for quite some time. Suddenly, from out there, came one of the young men. Instead of medic, Mom. Mom. Right, Al?
And yeah, it was, of all the things that touched me in the war, was one of those things like that. This whole, instead of medic, you hear the word mom. It made everything so impossible to understand why you were 1,000 miles from home, and Mom, who was safe at home, she was out there. Instead of medic, I'll never forget it.
That's right, I'll never forget it. Mom.
Mom.
Right. And that was with me for a long time, but just to clear it up quickly, the minesweepers came up, and we walked behind the minesweepers, and we went up that hill, and we got the pillboxes, and they were empty. The Germans had fled.
Yeah.
They had gone, right, they had fled. So that was the first thing that I'll never forget, and it took me quite some time to get that out of my memory. Oh, I didn't go screaming at night or anything of that nature. It's just that I didn't sleep, and I had to go outside and put on some sweet music, right, Hal?
Well, yeah, it affected me a lot, too, sometimes you're driving, and all of a sudden that come back to me, and it just overwhelmed me. That was one of the moments in the war that stayed with me for a long time. A long time. And,
okay.
Imagine it would be very difficult to hear. Now, you guys, you talking about a very funny story earlier backstage. Overheard something about your helmets.
Oh, I know what he means. Oh, yeah. Well, want me to tell us? Well,
no. I'll join in on this.
Join in when you want. Yeah. Well, the thing that we feared the most about the Germans was the 88s. What would we call them?
The 88s fever. If you had 88 fever, the first thing they asked you when you got over there, if the veteran would ask you, "Oh, you'll be at home soon," when you get 88 fever. It was a rocket the Germans threw that was
a mortar shell.
It's a mortar shell.
It was devastating. It would just pull the clothes right off your back. And so when that happened, when we were under fire, we would dig what we call a foxhole. A foxhole, you dig as far as you can at the foxhole, and you stay there until the mortars are gone. And it's a nightmare because the mortars are getting closer, perhaps, and they pull the clothes that you always described. They pull the clothes off.
If a mortar shell fell close to your foxhole, it didn't have to be a hit direct because you were gone if it was. But if it hit somewhat out there, your clothes, for that one moment, everything was dead. Your clothes was sucked out of you almost.
That's right.
And it
Exactly.
was a
terrible
terrible feeling.
But there's one thing that I want to say, and is this, that a combat infantry man, can I say the story, Harry, about us? A combat infantry man has two helmets, a helmet liner and a steel helmet, what we call the steel pot.
Right.
And he has two helmets. Well, when we were in the foxhole, for what it's worth, and I'm going to be honest, I took off my steel helmet, as did my brother, and I took off my helmet liner, put the helmet liner down, and I put the steel helmet over my family jewels, which I felt was more important than anything else. And you did the same.
Well, I did that.
Wow.
And that often, it should have been a horrible thing, but it's a comic thing because it shows man's tremendous ego. He uses the wrong instrument to think, and there it is. His ego is so absolutely unbelievable that he puts the steel helmet, over the most important part of his body. I guess it was.
They'd rather lose their heads than the privates.
Well,
You got it.
That's what and we're not the only ones that did that either.
No.
I could tell you the stories after the war was over. A couple of my buddies we saw, they confessed they did the same thing. But okay, we did it. I just wanted to get that out of the way, that we did it. Go ahead.
That's a great thing. Now, during your years in the war, were there any fun, exciting, laughable moments that you had at all?
Yeah, well, can I tell you? I'd like
You
to
started,
you know,
I'll finish it.
You know what I'm going to talk about?
Oh, you
the
can
one I'm
talk
going to
about
talk
that.
about was the war was not over yet, but it was coming to a close. And we came to this town, I think it was Fürstenfeldbruck, but I'm
Yes,
not
yes.
exact, was it?
Fürstenfeldbruck,
But we closed the town down, no lights and everything, and no music because the Germans were still out there with snipers and so forth and so on. So suddenly, from this one apartment, from this one place, came music. It was blasting out of the windows. And Howie and I and Pat Alone and a couple of other cats, I think was with us too, wasn't he? We ran up to tell him to shut it up. So we go into the room and we tell him, please, would you shut the music down? Hey, and this one fella, this one old man, the father, he was dressed like Scrooge.
He was dressed like Scrooge with a big gown on him like that, and he had his wife and he had his daughter beside him.
Right.
And he was so nervous at the same time, trying so hard to please. And he said, I'll stop the music. This was translated by. And he said, I play bingo. I play the bingo. The bingo was Bing Crosby. Now, Crosby was always a great seller in the German market during Christmas time because of his Christmas carols. And they sold so many records. So I thought, go, play. So he goes running into the room, and he comes out, and he turns it on, and he puts and I thought surely it came upon the midnight clear or silent night or something of that sort would be played. Instead, all of a sudden, from that patroller came, you must have been a beautiful baby. You must have been a wonderful child. And we all laughed. And it was and he was dancing around, and needless to say, it was a comic touch for us.
Yes, it was, and I'll never forget it. It was funny, and they shut up after that, and we got ourselves an experience, right, Hal?
I would say so. It's something that you need. You got to have some kind of a sense of humor.
Yeah, well, who cares if there's a war? There's always time for good music.
There's always time for good music.
Wow. Now, last thing, I understand you were in the book, the Tom Brokaw and Album Memories, Personal Histories from the Greatest Generation.
Right.
And you're in this book.
Yes.
Page 295, I believe.
Ask my brother, he knows.
296.
What page?
296.
296, you're right. Yeah, your memory's not all that bad. And there they are. Right there. With your mother, right?
That's mom. That's mom.
Yes,
That's
your
mom.
mother?
Yeah, right.
Wow, there you go. Wow, must have been an honor to be in this book, right?
Yes, it was. We're grateful that Tom put us in. That is not the book that he first made famous. The book that he made famous first was a book called The Greatest Generation. And we were so impressed with that book because he was writing, right now, as you said, writing about us and about our contributions. So we wrote him a letter after we read the book telling him how much we appreciated it, his raves about us, and thank you so much. And we were twins. We gave a little experience what we were twins. Months later, we got a letter from him saying
they wanted to know if it was true that Wally and I had stayed together all the way. Would you send us some proof? We had to send them the proof of being at Cambridge, of the proof of the fact that we were together, from platoon to company to regiment, all the way through. We must have slipped through the hole, because, believe me, in those days, if you were close, if you were brothers or sisters, you separated immediately. They sent one guy east, the other guy west. They separated.
What was the name of that group?
The Sullivan Brothers.
All the Sullivan Brothers all died early in the war, and from that moment on. But that's right, Al. That's exactly.
Thank God you two made it out.
Well, I'm glad too. I'm so glad too. And of course, there's many things that I'm thankful for. Howie, of course, in running away from the enemy, you know, with the purple, he got himself
He's got a lot of
Purple Heart. And when we were discharged, that 5 points, that's another story. It came into another great moment that I thank my brother for. And that is, he stayed and waited for me, you know. But that's another story.
Now, I understand you guys go from high school to high school, and you talk about your experiences in the war, right? You like kids? You like kids a lot?
Oh,
because I love them. I want a few of my own one day.
Tony, I love kids myself. Believe me, Tony. They're great. They're great, but they take time and effort and
I think Tony's talking about the kids at sophomores and juniors in high school.
Oh God!
They were what? They were the most. I never saw an audience like it. Never. Do you?
Never
saw an audience. When we start talking about the war, I thought we got to be careful. We don't want to get. They wanted to know all about it. They were that every high school we go to has been just marvelous. Just treated us great. Don't you think?
Oh, I have no complaints. We went to the Holy Cross and Oceanside, and all of the kids, no exception, were just absolutely extraordinary in the treatment of two veterans that came back from the war. You know.
I'm sure these stories never get old to these kids.
Never get old. He's got a story that he used to tell, but he skipped it this time. After the war was over, I had a little trouble.
I
let Wally tell it.
Yeah, he had a little trouble in the shrapnel. After the war was over, we played a lot of baseball, softball, and the war was over. And my brother, during the summer of 1946 and 40, he was going crazy, scratching himself. And it was
you developed a bit of an itch down there.
And it was embarrassing. He would be in center field, scratching himself, and I said to him, I said, it's embarrassing. Everywhere you go, he said, I can't help it. My itch is going crazy. And, well, of course, what happened was he went to the doctors, and they failed to get all the shrapnel out of his
ass.
Yeah, they got it out. They got it out, and
I always loved that year because if I remember right, it was a year I hit 420, and I don't know what you hit that year. Was it in the 200s?
I knew he would bring it up. Yes, he did. He had a great year that year with the itch and all, and I hit 286.
Very weak 286.
Very weak 286. All right. Let's change the subject now. Okay. Can I talk about the prison camp?
Concentration
camp that toward the end of the war was almost over. The war wasn't over yet, but we were walking down this road, and we came across a curve, and we started to go around the curve. And suddenly, rushing toward us was a loud noise of voices. And coming around the curve were a mass of people with striped suits on, and they were shouting and shouting at the top of their lungs, Yank, Yank,
Yank.
Yank.
They called you
Yank.
Yank?
Thank you, Yank. Thank you, Yank. And they were coming up to us and putting their arms around us and holding us and squeezing us and yelling Yank. And Howie, it tells it best. You could hear or feel their bones, right? And
sometimes you could always smell them before they got to you. But to this day, it was a great smell. Because it was a great day for Wally and I. And anyway, as it got close, sometimes a bone protruding from the flesh would pop into you, but it was all part of the day. what was amazing about it was that everybody knew our name. Yank. Yank.
Yank.
Thank you, Yank. All languages, all kinds of dialect, all high, low, everything. And it was a day in my life. This is me personally, and I think my brother, but me personally, that it was the greatest day of my life before and after. Because for the first time in my life, I accomplished something. I stood up for something. I wore the white hat, and it was great wearing it. I was on the right side, and I did something right. And even that, I didn't know whether to greet each people, whether to throw up or to laugh or cry. I did a little of everything. But there never has been, and I'm close to 93, there hasn't been a day in my life that ever touched that. Because for the first time, I was what man was supposed to be.
Right. And you
standing
thanked
up
that. I
for
remember
something.
you go
I
away-
thought,
Thank you.
whoever it is that takes charge upstairs, I don't know. I thanked him, and I thanked him profusely. And I said, thank you, thank you, thank you. And to
All
this
right.
day, when I hit my knees, I still say, thank
Okay,
you.
Al, that's great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Must have felt proud.
It was a day. It was a great day. I'll never forget it. And it was just great. But anyway, that was another moment. And
I'm guessing it must have been a big relief when the war was over and you were heading back home.
great. But as I say, my brother, see, when you were being released, they had they came out with a system, a point system. And lo and behold, when we came out, my brother here had 5 more points than I did because he had the Purple Heart. And surely, and wouldn't you know it, his category, he could have gone home months in front of me. But he chose to stay. And he, believe me when I tell you, when I say he chose to stay, we were at that time, we were at Cambridge, England, and we were having the time of our life with representing the United States in Cambridge.
Wow.
And it was
You had the
terrific.
opportunity to go, but you decided to stay with your brother?
Yeah, but don't get the idea he did it because of he did it because we were having a ball. I mean, we really were. You were, Howard, you met your first wife there.
Yes, I did.
You met your first wife in the war?
Yes, but it was hard for me to make the sacrifice to stay and go home with him.
Well, you didn't hesitate. You said, I'm staying, because you were having the time of your life.
Yes,
You
yes.
married the girl. You had 3 kids by her, right?
Yes.
And she's great, Joni. But anyway, that was something that I'll never forget. That moment. But also when we went home together, and thank you, Howie. And we were home together. Another great moment. Can I talk about this moment?
Yeah, sure. We got all the time
On
in
the
the
way home,
world.
we were on the
well,
boat,
10 minutes.
going
yeah,
home,
yeah.
and we were almost there, and we were in our staterooms. We were in our bunks, and the music was playing in the loudspeaker, and the loudspeaker was playing our music too. The big strange thing was the vocalists were now getting the top billing, but you know, Ella Fitzgerald and Dinah Shore and Peggy Lee and everything, and we were listening to great music. And suddenly, the music we were listening to, the speaker went off, just like that. And through the loudspeaker came the next voice that said, "Gentlemen, gentlemen,
The lady,
the lady
is in.
the lady is in sight. The lady is in sight." Well, that meant only one thing to us. And we rushed up, right? And
we rushed up in a crowd and screaming and yelling
yelling, and there
going
was
to
the
the
Statue of
side,
Liberty.
Statue of Liberty.
waiting for
Right.
that boat or
And
ship
the sheep
of ours.
show was in sight. And if I can tell you what happened next, we were all shouting and yelling. You and Bob Shue,
Yeah.
Howie wanted to send Bob Shue over to plant a kiss on her, you know, and Shue was going to strip down and do it. We were yelling and screaming. But then suddenly we pulled right alongside, right alongside of the Statue of Liberty. You know, I mean, not alongside, but right laterally, parallel to it.
Parallel to it. Now,
Right.
we pulled alongside, then we started to go away, and all of a sudden, there was a quiet. that you could hear a pin drop, and was that a sob?
Sob howling. Yeah.
And it just kept going and going until we got a little distance away, and then the crowd came up again. But that was a great moment to come home to.
I'll never forget the way that quiet came on suddenly, just like that. All of us, as if no cue, we just all, and then after we went past it, we started in again. Great moment, and that was, we were home, right?
Yeah, we were home. We were home to civilian life.
Right.
Did you find it as hard as the Army?
Oh, I found this getting civilian life. What do you mean? The Army was,
Wow.
a lot of things, a lot of people in the Army and the war that we were in was a horror. Terrible. But I would be a phony. I would be less of a man if I didn't say there were great moments.
Yes.
In my 3 years in the service.
Yeah.
Great moments.
I would
I
say
met beautiful people and had great, wonderful moments. That's all I can say.
Wouldn't you also say, Wally, that the very fact that you were with your buddies and they were your brothers, that during the time that we served in the Army,
Right.
you would never do in any way anything at all to ever turn your back on them?
Of course not. That's 100% true. That's true. But
Where they went, you went. And I hope they felt the same way, and they did.
They did. But there were great moments too that we met a lot of people. You met your wife. You met your
Yes, I did.
first wife.
How about you, Walter? You married, kids?
Why don't you speak?
What?
What? Are you married?
Well-
Tony asked you one question. Are you married?
Well, I've been married 3 times. Tony.
3 times?
3 times, yeah.
Wow.
3 times.
How many kids?
I had 3 kids by my first wife.
3 kids, first wife. Wow.
Yeah, but,
Wow.
I just want you to know, and I swear to God, that I'm friends with my all the way.
Wow.
Well,
And I'm pretty sure all your kids heard all these stories, right?
I'm not so sure they have, Tony.
Really?
I'm not so sure. You?
What?
That our kids have heard these stories that we
No,
tell?
I don't think so. Not
No.
all of them.
I don't know.
Sometimes you can tell a story to people, and if they're close to you, sometimes you think maybe it can be, and
Right.
it's not. It's not. It comes off, in a funny way.
All right.
Funny. Anyway.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have here today. Guys, I'd like to thank you for being on my show.
Thank you, Tony, very much. Nice meeting you.
Now, they still go from high school to high school and talk about
Yes.
their experiences. And if you want them to go to your high school, email me at tonyspinolli@yahoo.com. I'm sure they will love to attend. And I'm sure we haven't seen the last of the Schultz twins. Guys, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you.
All right. All right, get out of here. Get out of here.
Okay, we'll go.
We'll
Gotta
go,
go.
Tony.
Bye now.